Nicole Macabre, a phantasmagoric guide to pop culture's dark side. I'm Lee.
And I'm Richie.
And on today's episode, we are talking to you about Weapons, a 2025 American supernatural mystery horror, directed, written, produced, and co-scored by one man.
Zach Cregger.
Zach Cregger.
Yeah, and if you don't know who Zach Cregger is, he did 2022's Barbarian, which was a really amazing film. I highly enjoyed that one when it came out.
Yeah, we both watched that one together. You introduced me to it, and I was very pleased with that one as well. I enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, so it was one of those situations where that one was very critically well received, and when this film got announced and he was attached to it, it was like, oh shit, like, you know how when you get a filmmaker whose name just precedes anything, it doesn't matter. It's kind of like when Christopher Nolan does a movie, like it's just an event. You know what I mean? Like, it's a Christopher Nolan movie. I don't care what it is. I'm going to see it.
Right,
you know,
yeah.
It's like one of those things. I know that's like a very big comparison to Zach Cregger, but funny enough, like Zach, for those of you who do not know, Zach was a founding member of the comedy troupe, The Whitest Kids You Know. So like that's kind of a thing where comedy people are going into horror films, kind of like Peele.
Yep, that was
Jordan Peele. Yep.
Love those movies as well. But I remember when The Whitest Kids You Know was a current show on television.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And another like example of that would be the most recent 3 Halloween films from 2018 onward. That would be Danny McBride being a co-writer on that one.
Oh, I love Danny McBride. We're big fans of him in this household as well.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get into Weapons. So this was produced on a budget of $38 million, and it made $268 at the box office. This is a new release, by the way, so we will be getting into spoiler territory. This just released this past August, and it has a pretty great cast, actually. Like, I tried to go into this movie as blind as I possibly could, because I feel like nowadays, especially like on the internet, films get spoiled like real big. The only thing that I think got spoiled for me was the character of Gladys, and as far as the appearance, because that character is giving very long legs.
Which is exactly what I said when we started watching it. And I hadn't seen her up until we were actually watching the movie.
Yeah, I saw a meme going around with the character, and I was like, what the fuck? And they were just like, oh yeah, this is a thing. And I was like, oh, well, and I'm glad they didn't spoil who Gladys is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to only have seen part of the trailer where it's like the kids narrating at the beginning of the movie. So
narrating Naruto running, narrate Naruto. I mean, you know.
Immediate comments were made about that too as soon as it was on screen.
Look, I'm not going to lie, that took me out of it. However, like that being said, it's one of the only negative connotations for this for me. I actually enjoyed this very much. I would like to talk about it probably non-linear, because this is actually a non-linear film.
Yeah, there's no reason to follow the story in any particular route, I suppose.
Yeah, the only way to really get into it is they introduce character cards at the beginning of each, quote, chapter or each segment, because it's not even a chapter. They're just like, oh, this is, just whoever it is. They're like, oh, this is Marcus, this is Archer, this is Justine, this is Paul, James, whoever. And I should note that like Josh Brolin, Julia Garner, Alden Ehrenreich, Austin Abrams, Carrie Christopher, Benedict Wong, Justin Long, we had a lot of people in this movie. It is considered an ensemble cast, but like I consider an ensemble cast to be like Avengers, like a huge list of people.
Yeah, absolutely. I did like seeing Justin Long pop up as one of the parents of the missing children. That was a nice little, like, I guess cameo is what you call it.
You know what was nice? He didn't die in this one.
Yeah, no, it's a much different ending than what he got in Barbarian.
It's a much different ending than he gets in any horror movie. Every time Justin Long is in any kind of horror movie, I'm like, oh, he's going to die.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the story, I should note, when I first saw trailers for this and when I had any kind of inkling that it was happening, I don't know what it was, but my initial thought going into, for me, I was like, oh, this looks really like government conspiracy type. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I thought going into this. So it was really off the wall for me once we got into this. I was like, oh my God. And it kind of did the same shit that Barbarian did. Barbarian started out one way and then took a hard right turn. And it was like something else completely different by the end of it. And I loved that. Just the same as this.
I got that same bit of surprise as we watched the movie. My original theory was aliens, that somehow it was going to be something along those lines, like an abduction of some sort. I couldn't tell you for sure or why my head was going in that direction. That was my first thought. The further we got in, and it didn't take me very long either. I was like, maybe this is closer to the line of supernatural something or other. And then it all clicked together pretty quick after that, I think.
Yeah, and I think by the time they wrote, like, because there's a scene in the movie where the character of Justine gets the word witch written on her vehicle. I was like, oh, the town would say some shit like that, just because they're at that point they're being assholes to her. But then I was like, oh my God, what if that's actually it? You know what I mean? So pretty much the movie starts with a narration from a child, and it just tells you right off the bat, like, hey man, these kids woke up at 2:17 in the morning and hauled ass out of their fucking houses and into the dark, and we didn't see them for a very long time.
Yeah, they set off house alarms and everything. Some kids were caught on door ring bells or ring doorbells.
Yeah,
Yikes.
door ring bells.
But yeah, so they had like video footage of these kids just Naruto running straight out of their houses, beaming in a straight line away from them. So
I picture those kids running like.
I mean, they kind of did. Some of them did kind of sound like that. Fucking weird. But yeah, so of course, all these kids shared one single third grade classroom as well, and only one singular child showed up to that class the next day. And I feel like it is a very natural thing for the parents to have suspicion on the teacher. I feel like that is a natural assumption because clearly it's a very weird situation.
Yeah, but the way that they went about it was kind of fucked up. Like they were talking about, we had to shut the school down for a month, and then the parents had this meeting to learn how to deal with it like the day before school opens back up, and they're all it's a small town. So they're all like in this town meeting at the school. And the principal is there. And of course, these parents are calling out Justine Gandy because they're just like, oh, hey, she has to know something. Like, it was just her classroom. Why wasn't it any other class? And why was it only a certain amount of kids? And like, she knows something's up with this. And meanwhile, like the way that we get introduced to these characters and we get some of their story it's cool that it's non-linear because the way that it links up, you're like, oh, I start putting pieces together that way a little bit better, I think, more than a linear story would have told.
Mm-hmm.
It's clear that Justine has a past, because the way the parents just automatically assume that she's done something fucked up.
Well, I mean, all things considered, like I said, she would be the number one suspect in that situation. It's a fair assumption for them to make. And when you don't have answers, you have anger at not having answers. So it created a huge mob mentality where they were just swarming her as she was even coming out of the building, to the point where the principal was like standing between the crowd and her, trying to fend them off just so she could get in her car and go home.
Right. And I liked a lot of and then just like in Barbarian, I thought the transitions between certain scenes were very well done. Like whenever she gets in the car in that scene, the principal's like, hey, man, like, do you have a place you can go? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, well, I would go there and just lay low. And it cuts to a shot of her from the front where she's sitting in the car outside of the school. But then she opens the door and then she's at a convenience store where like she's on a fucking mission to go get a couple of bottles of vodka because it's revealed that she used to be an alcoholic and she starts like this entire event actually like respawns her alcoholism.
Yeah, you start to learn pretty quick that she is a messy human being. I made the comment when we started watching where I was like, I'm not really sure I like her character very much. Outside of her being blamed for whatever is going on with the children, there's not a lot there to make you feel sympathetic about her because you see the meeting a married cop friend in a bar. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, and it's on him too. It's not even just her. You kind of learn the people in this town are not that great either. Like, I mean, even Josh Brolin's character to an extent is kind of not likable. Archer, his character, is kind of not likable, but Paul is the police officer who is actually her ex-boyfriend, and like she, calls him up and he meets her at this bar, and like he's apparently told her like, oh yeah, like I'm not seeing my wife or whatever anymore, and it's implied they have a past, which is revealed that they do have a past, and like they wind up sleeping together and all this other shit. And apparently, like their relationship was extremely toxic or destructive, because they were both mutually alcoholics. And I'm assuming, because like when he goes and like his wife mentions something later, like to Justine, which she winds up finding her in the convenience store and like pouring vodka all over her and
basically
like
assaulting her.
Yeah, she assaults her and she's just like, what the fuck did you do? Like, what did you fuck him? Like you got him drunk and all this other shit. So it's kind of implied that they both were very toxic for each other and it was a very bad relationship as far as like they were just not good for each other.
She even tries to tell Donna, the wife, I think her name was Donna, that he told me you guys weren't seeing each other, that you broke up. I believe shortly after the scene where she gets assaulted at the gas station, liquor store, whatever that is,
it's the combination liquor store, gas station. I'm at the gas station. I'm at the liquor store. I'm at the combination gas station liquor store.
But I think we get Paul's perspective right after that, right? And we actually...
It's non-linear. It doesn't matter who it jumps to at this point.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But basically, through Paul's perspective, we learned that, yes, he is a recovering alcoholic, and his wife mentions AA meetings, and he gets, I'm not sure defensive is the right word, but kind of defensive. Like, if I start to struggle, I will go. There's no reason for me to go otherwise.
Yeah, and Paul runs into James, who is a drug addict, and he's homeless, and this dude is, like, looking for both his next fix and how to swindle somebody out of cash to get his next fix. And there's a couple of fucked up incidents because, like, you see whenever Paul has met Justina at the bar, she's like, oh, what happened to your hand? He's like, oh, just a work-related incident. Well, you find out during his little segment why he got this work-related accident. Mm-hmm. So when he chases James down, he's like, hey, man, do you have anything in your pockets and all this other shit? And he's like, yeah, no. And he stabs his finger on a syringe needle, and he's freaking the fuck out, and he winds up punching him out, and he disconnects his fucking car cam and all this. He's like, look, we did each other wrong. You're going to get the fuck out of here. We never saw each other, but if I see you again, it's going to be a different story, all this other shit. And you kind of go into James's story where he's living in a tent and he's like smoking crack and he's got a ton of needles in his bag in his tent. And like at one point, he figures out where these kids are because like he wanders into Alex's house where we find out that his parents are catatonic, and he's not the only person to find out that his parents are just there and that something fucked up is going on at the house. Justine at one point, was very stalker-esque with all this shit. Like, she's just camped outside of this fucking house, pouring vodka into a convenience store beverage container and just...
like one of those Speedway cups.
Dude, yeah, she went and got a fucking big gulp from the 7-Eleven, and she's like, yo, look, man, this vodka pepper, like, I'm assuming she's like a Dr. Pepper. She looks like a Dr. Pepper drinker, the nasty bitch. She fucking probably sitting there with like her vodka Dr. Pepper, just sitting in this car like, yeah, I'm about to find out some fucking dirt on this bitch.
That's how Nancy's mom from Nightmare spent her lunch hours at work.
Oh, God. And let's talk about how on brand the vodka usage was here. She went for the same fucking brand every time. Couldn't tell you what it was, but she definitely went for it. I could see that she grabbed two of the same kind. There's some fucked up shit that happens during that sequence, though, too. I know we're kind of like bouncing all over the place, but again, this movie kind of bounces all over the place. Where, like, she's sitting in this car, looking at Alex's house or whatever, and the door just opens. That happens a lot, and it's very unsettling. Just a front door opening with no light coming from inside the house. It's just pitch black. No
figure, no anything. You can't see anything with the door.
Oh, no, there is definitely a figure. A figure comes marching out to the fucking vehicle, what looks like a knife, but then they have the camera fixed on Justine while she's passed out drunk in the car, and then you just hear the car door open and shut, and she's just not even coherent, and then she gets some of her hair clipped off with some scissors.
And it's at that point where you're like, oh, is this nefarious? Is this witchcraft?
Yeah, and that's kind of where it was like, okay, this movie is definitely not some government conspiracy. It's not aliens. It's not anything like that. It is 100% witchcraft, because it is revealed that Aunt Gladys comes to town posing. I would say she's posing, because they do say, like, oh, yeah, this is my aunt. We haven't seen her. She didn't come to our, wedding or whatever. Like, Alex's parents were like, oh, yeah, she didn't come to our wedding. She didn't do this. She didn't do that. It's like, but the dad even makes mention of, like, yeah, I don't really know her that well. Your mom kind of barely even knows her own sister. It's like, okay.
Yeah, it makes you question whether or not she actually was a family member, or if this is just the weird aunt that nobody talks about that has a strange past, and it's all just coming back around at this point.
Yeah. So we figure out basically that Gladys has taken over Alex's household and has put the parents under a spell, basically draining their life force for the entirety that she's there. And this is why the children are missing. And we find out, she's got these kids under some kind of spell to drain life force and everything, because that's what she does.
Yeah, she gets progressively sick as some of the movie goes on, and she ends up getting Alex to help her get better because he thinks if he helps her get better, then she'll leave the house and he can have his parents back.
Right.
Logical. And she asks for a personal item from each and every one of his classmates, which he goes and retrieves all their name tags off their cubbies and brings those back and slides them over to her. And next thing we know, we got a bunch of child zombies just marching around under a spell.
Yeah. And some of these other characters, like we want to get into a little more, like Archer, Josh Brolin's character, one of his kids, Matthew, he's missing. And he immediately is like the first person to point out Justine's DUI past and being fired from the school that she used to work for before this one. And he goes so far as to stalk her and follow her around. And we also are being introduced to the principal, who is portrayed by Benedict Wong. The principal's name is Marcus. Benedict Wong most famously played Wong in the Avengers franchise. So it was nice to see him in something else, getting to show more of his acting chops. Him and his boyfriend are actually visited by Gladys at his house after he tells Gladys, hey, man, I can't talk to you about anything to do with this kid because Child Protective Services might become involved and I have to speak with the parents directly. So this is whenever she goes over to their house. She places both of them under a spell and she has him kill his partner, which is really fucked up.
Oh, man, it was really brutal. It was really brutal. And it was a well done scene and very unsettling because she's just quiet this whole time, just cleaning up after herself. And you just hear the crunch in the background, and every time I heard the hit, I was like, ugh.
13 or 14 times headbutting him to death. Because the way she puts people under a spell is she pricks a little bit of her own blood, and she has a thorn kind of stick, and she wraps an object around the stick and then a strand of hair for whoever she wants this person to kill, wraps the hair around the twig and breaks it in half, and that kind of sets off a trigger. And it's how these kids were uncontrollably running to this house, because then we see Marcus haul ass and just run for miles to this gas station. Now, I want to cut back to Archer and Justine because he actually winds up encountering her at the gas station. And we also find out that he's the one that painted her car. He's the one that painted Witch on her car because he's a contractor that builds houses and shit. And we see the coat of paint that was used on this door. And they make mention, oh yeah, we had the right paint orders, but the wrong paint was delivered. That's because it was the paint that he had in the back of his truck, and that's the paint that he used to write Witch on her car. So he's followed her to this gas station, and he's confronting her. Well, while he's confronting her, she just peers over his shoulder and she sees Marcus just running. And
full tilt. Full fucking tilt.
His eyes are bugging out of his head.
His whole face is red and swollen. It looked like his eyes hadn't blinked at all. You made this observation when we were watching it, where it seems like whatever spell it puts them under ignores all of your current physiological limitations and just pushes you and pushes you and pushes you and pushes you and pushes you, and you cannot stop. So it was very grotesque, I would say, the image that you get from that. I was like, oh my God, that's kind of fucking horrific. If I saw that running at me, I would freak the fuck out.
Yeah, because he looks naturally oxygen deprived, and he's also exerting every bit of physical strength that he's got, because by the time he gets there, he's on the ground choking Justine, and then Archer kicks him off of him, and then there's a really intense short chase into the actual convenience store.
Ooh, but that one, that chase does not end too well for Marcus.
Yeah, so Justine winds up escaping in her vehicle, but he's on foot pursuing her, so Archer, who had tackled him enough for Justine to get away, chases him down in the car, in his truck or whatever, and Marcus is blowing through streets and he's just hauling balls, right? And he runs through this 4-way intersection and he just gets obliterated by an SUV. I think that is the actual goriest part of the movie is the aftermath, because they show him getting hit, but it's from a far away shot. But when they zoom in on him, you see just this pooled trail of blood from the vehicle, and then you get like an overhead shot of him, and like half his head is missing, and there's just like brain matter and shit all over the place. And it's like, god damn, that was like one of the most realistic looking corpses I've seen on screen. Because you know how like most horror movies, like you look at it like, god, that's some good effects, and you know it's like the way they shot this one and just the angle, and like they didn't make it where like, oh, his body's all mangled and turned over on itself and shit. Like, no, he was just spread out on his back and half his head was just fucking gone. Like, there's tongue hanging out, dude.
It. Yep.
God, it was so bad.
Man. It's pretty fucking brutal, and it did make me cringe pretty good. I was like, ugh. Even though I've never like physically seen something like that in person, my brain goes, that's probably what it would look like.
Yeah, suspension of disbelief in that was extremely easy.
This whole incident does lead to a discovery on Archer's part, because he recognized something very crucial when Marcus was booking it towards them. He noticed that Marcus was running exactly like the kids caught on the doorbell cameras.
Yeah, because he's been studying his own door cameras. In fact, he'd been asking to see multiple door cams from people in the neighborhood. In fact, he was actually refused at one point by Bailey's mother, who was played by Sarah Paxton, her character Erica. He went and knocked on her door and was like, can I see that? And she's like, yeah, I don't think so. So he waited until Gary, who was played by Justin Long, he waited until Gary got home. He's like, hey, buddy, do you mind if I take it? And Gary's like, yeah, come on in, man. Like, he totally just... And what I think is funny, Justin Long has a really great knack for playing these just very, like, aloof characters.
Sure.
He's really good at just be like, yeah, whatever, cool, man. Like, just not thinking shit of it, right? You know? But anyway, like, aside from that, good cameo. I like seeing Justin Long. I think he's a great actor. And he's really good at playing, like, a funny guy. And he's also really good at playing a fucking asshole. And so it's nice to see him not be a dickhead that gets murked in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, so he notices this, right? And not only has he noticed this, he's been taking drawings of the town map. And he's been...
City plans.
Yeah, and he's cross-coordinating where these children are running to, and he figures out they've all been running to this exact same location by where their paths are.
Yeah, he just draws these straight lines from wherever they were seen running from the doorbell cams and found where they all connected. He actually ends up sharing this with Justine, who goes immediately, oh my god, that's Alex's house.
Yeah, this is after they've all visited the hospital after the incident at the gas station, because they both got kind of fucked up during the scuffles. And let's talk about Alex's character for a minute, man, because look, I feel so awful for this kid. Like,
oh yeah, poor baby.
He's basically had to deal with all this shit behind closed doors, where like his Aunt Gladys is really torturous to him. Like, she literally makes him sit down at the table while she demonstrates the power she has over his parents. And she pretty much just sits him down and makes him watch them stab themselves in the faces repeatedly with their forks at the dinner table under her power.
She also reveals that since they can't do anything for themselves anymore, he has to hand feed them soup, apparently being the easiest thing, every single day and night.
Soup for my family.
Mm-hmm.
That kid is going to the supermarket every day, because we find out not only is he feeding his fucking parents, he's having to feed every kid in the basement, including one of the kids who was a bully to him.
Yeah, that's a kick in the pants. Also, supermarket.
I don't let that fucker starve.
Ooh.
I'm petty. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a flying fuck. Because that kid is smart enough to know. He's smart enough to do a lot of shit. In fact, like, there's a spot in the movie I'd like to talk about when we get to it. But yeah, that poor bastard, he's had to deal with all this shit, right? And it's just fucked, man. Super, super fucked up situation, because he's not telling anybody about this, and, you know, he's been moved to a different class, and you can just see it in his face.
Yeah, that kid looks dead inside, and it's sad because, like, they do try to show you that Justine is clearly a very caring teacher. She's observant as well, and, you know, even notices when Alex slips away from gym class to come and steal the name tags, and she's like, oh, no, you know, you can tell me anything and all this and that, the other. But I couldn't really, I don't know if we got enough context or if there was something I missed that told us that she was like quite a heavy drinker even before the incident, because we only really see her after everything happened.
Oh, no, she relapses because of all this is what it is.
Okay,
because
gotcha.
she wasn't. She just kind of relapses after this. Now, another thing I want to point out is the fact that Paul and James, the cop and the drug addict, James winds up like we mentioned earlier, finding this house because he was
trying to rob it.
Yeah.
Just straight up.
Yep. And he tries to get the $50,000 reward that he sees at the pawn shop. And he winds up going back to the police station because they tell him, yeah, no, you got to go to the cops to fucking report this. And he's like, fuck, okay. So he does. And that's whenever Paul chases him down again because he just catches him.
He told him not to come around in parts no more.
Yeah, well, the way we get introduced to Gladys is because James finds her in the forest, in the woods, where they actually have like a homeless campground where he's been staying. And he's like, who the fuck is that? And he gets in his tent and he thinks that she's actually coming up to stalk him. Well, he winds up stabbing Paul in the face with like 3 syringe needles.
Yeah, he's holding them like a weapon, and he thinks it's Gladys opening the tent. I remember cringing so fucking hard. That looked awful.
Yeah.
The little needles right into the cheek, man. Ugh,
Yeah.
I hated that.
So he pretty much tells Paul, he's like, I know where the kids are. And Paul's like, you better not be fucking lying. He's like, no, I know where they're at. And so they go, and he goes inside, and he's got James handcuffed in the back of the car, and he's there all fucking day and night.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, finally, because Paul comes out of the house, but he winds up dragging James into the house, and you just don't see them for the longest time. And then we get like towards the end of the film where Archer and Justine are going to this house. Paul walks outside and just waves at them and rolls right back into the house.
Yeah, he's like gesturing for them to like follow or something. And, she still kind of trusts him at that point, but they're confused as to why he was there in the first place.
Right.
But they do both get out and go into the house. And the very first thing they see is Paul on one side of the room and James on the other one. And they are pretty much immediately attacked upon crossing some salt lines.
Yeah, because at one point, Gladys tells Alex, hey, I'm going to be in this room. Don't cross any of the salt that's on the floor. And unfortunately, like, she's built herself a little attack army in this house because she's got his parents right outside of her door with the salt in front of them in the living room and in the kitchen downstairs. Unfortunately, Justine does not notice this and doesn't know that this is even a thing. And I have to admit, like, it's frightening to see the attack happen on her, but it was actually kind of comedic with James and Archer's fight because he just keeps fucking hurling him and kicking him and throwing him, like literally throwing him across the fucking house.
Yeah, it is a little bit humorous. I guess I just think about, it's the magic pushes the body beyond the limit. So anytime he punches him and he goes unconscious, the second he's back to consciousness, he goes right back to attacking him again.
It was giving Halloween 3 Season of the Witch.
There you go. Yeah.
When she just kept coming back for more. But they eventually become incapacitated because Justine is being choked by Paul in the kitchen, and she's just sitting there freaking out like, what the fuck am I going to do? She's cutting his face with a potato cutter, like a potato peeler.
Well, yeah, just strips of cheek falling away.
Ugh. Well, she grabs his gun out of his holster, shoots him in the throat, and he's just bleeding out, but he's still not stopping. So she has to shoot him in the head, and then she winds up shooting James in the head as well. And at that point, Archer has noticed the children in the basement, and he's going to look for Matthew, his son, and he finds Gladys in the basement. Which was a real big jump scare. I do have to admit, there was a few jump scares in this movie that got me. That was a good one.
Yeah, literally the very fucking first one in the movie got me so good. I was like, oh, fucking shit. Like, I was angry. That's always what happens to me when I get jump scared. I have the startle, and then I'm angry, and then I'm laughing at it. But
yeah,
that one got me really good. And then, the way she just kind of creeps out of the dark like a fucking phantom zombie witch bitch and rips the necklace off his neck because she has to have a personal item to make the magic work.
Yeah, and she's already got this whole thing planned out apparently because as soon as like she grabs it off his neck, he's just coming right for Justine and he puts her in a headlock and she just like walks in. She almost had like a whole Palpatine thing going on where she was just like, yes, just like this.
Do it. Give in to the dark side.
Let the hate flow through you. Do it. Just choking the shit out of her. But Alex has been resourceful this whole time. He's being chased by his own parents at this point, which is actually really fucked up because like the mom, oh my God, dude. His mom has like the most psycho bitch look on her face.
That was horrific. So he's like hiding behind a series of doors and, since he crossed the salt line, his parents are trying to get at him, of course, to just destroy him. There's nothing of the parents left really at this point. And she breaks through part of the door and the camera is looking up from the boy's perspective down on the floor. And the makeup, the whatever they used for that just looked so fantastic. It was genuinely like a horrifying thing to witness, especially as a child, man. That's got to be the trauma.
Yeah, but he was pretty resourceful right here because he goes and he has grabbed Gladys's wig out of her bedroom, which has her actual hair in it because she's lost most of it. She only has like a few like small like clump strands left of it.
She like braids it.
Yeah, basically. And he's grabbed one of her thorns and he's in the bathroom hiding and there's a sink there and he's got the thorn and he's got a personal item of hers and he's got her hair. So basically the personal item is her wig and then the hair is, obviously her hair. And he's got water and he pricks his finger and he makes his own spell. And as soon as he breaks it, everybody that's been under her spell goes after her, and that's where the kids kind of snap out of it, and they, oh my god, the foot stomping that you just hear, like an army of children just chasing this bitch down through the neighborhood and like crashing through windows and houses. Like, you're also sitting there like, oh fuck yeah, but also in the same breath, it's actually fucking terrifying.
Yeah, no, seeing a horde of screaming, raging children covered in muck and grime coming after you, literally busting through windows and doors and going through people's houses. And when they do finally knock her down and pin her down in some random person's yard, you get to watch all was like 13 plus kids or some shit.
It's like 16 of them just tearing her apart.
Tearing the skin off her face, the hair off her head, her jaw, ripping her jaw off.
They rip her fucking head in half.
Yeah, it's pretty gruesome. And then they're all just like standing there staring at the bloody mass in the grass, and it's pretty wicked. It was a good scene.
Look, could you imagine the smell coming off of that? Just think about this. They've had to have been fed, right? They had to be fed. Those children, the smell of iron in the air from all the blood, the nasty, like, rotting body in the yard, the already rotting body. I'm sure she smells horrible from the jump. And also just the combination of, like, kids stank and shit piss, because where the fuck were they going to the bathroom this entire time? You know she wasn't, like, recessing them where she's like, hey, yeah, all right, little Timmy, go to the bathroom.
Right.
Okay, Joanna, it's your turn. No. She let all these kids just live in that basement staring at the fucking wall like Blair Witch Project.
Yeah, it was a pretty creepy effect. The couple times that somebody did get in the basement, all the kids would turn and look at that person all at once.
You just see the gleam in their eyes when it would happen. It's like, oh my God.
It's pretty intimidating.
But yeah, this whole time after that happens, Archer finds Matthew, and Justine is kind of like looking at all the aftermath in the house, and she leaves, and we get this voiceover from the child that was narrating, basically saying that, oh yeah, like all the kids got to go back to school. Alex's parents are still being fed soup somewhere, but not by him. So it's pretty much implied that his parents had to be taken in for just, they had to be admitted to inpatient psychiatric care at that point, which is really sad because they never get their anything back. They're just catatonic now.
Yeah.
He had to go live with a different aunt. The kid said that, this aunt is nice apparently, and yeah, all the kids went back to their parents and went back to school. And it's also implied that the kids are not all great either, because she said, yeah, some of them even start speaking again.
Yeah, and that really begs the question of what kind of effect did the witch actually have on them? Was it life force taking? Was it destroying or depleting their brains? Did they completely regress? Like, I'm really curious about the magic itself.
And that's the end of the film. And from the things that I've been reading online, they're talking about doing some kind of a spin-off for the Aunt Gladys character, like a prequel or something like that, which I think would be a good companion piece. Like you just mentioned, you were wanting to know how the magic works, how those spells work, and it's just in talks. It's not that it's actually happening, but they are talking about it, and I feel like Weapons has potential to have a true sequel to it, or it has the potential to have some type of universe built around it. I think it would. It doesn't need to, but it could. You know what I mean? I think the concept works well enough that you could spread this story out elsewhere.
Yeah, I do like the idea of them going backwards. I feel like that presents more opportunity than forwards with this particular venture. But
like, how did she get here?
Yeah, exactly. Or like, is she who she says she is? Where did she learn this shit from? Like all sorts of stuff. And, in any world where supernatural is one of your genres, it leaves it open to pretty much anything. Yeah. There could be other supernatural creatures in this world. But the reception for this was great, and I would say that I agree that this was a fantastic movie. I really enjoyed it. Definitely one of the better horror films that I saw this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the cinematography is really well done. I think that the mood is great. I think the pacing is actually very well done too, because we were sitting there being like, oh my God, this still has like this much longer left. Like we would have to pause it a couple times, for, breaks or whatever. But we would be sitting there like, oh my God, it still has this much time left, but it doesn't feel like we've actually passed. Like we were like an hour and a half in and it still had like another fucking 45 minutes left or something like that.
This movie gave me the same feeling that watching Eddington in theaters did, where it was definitely a longer movie. There was a lot of back and forth between character perspectives, but it never felt like it was as long as it actually was, and I was completely enraptured the entirety of the film.
You know what? That's a good comparison because like I fucking enjoyed Eddington a lot. I think Zach Cregger is one of those people that is going to be up there in terms of horror directors in the way that Ari Aster has become. Like when you see these people doing certain movies, it's like, okay, you have to see it. It doesn't matter what it's about. You have to go see it. The only regret about Weapons is that I didn't get to see this in theaters. I would love to have seen this in a movie theater.
I agree with you. Yeah, and I'm sad that we had to wait as long as we did to actually sit down and watch it, but I'm very glad that we did. Do not regret it at all. If they do make a prequel, I'm absolutely down for that, and we will have to see that one in theater at least.
Yeah, for sure. Where does this sit for you as a rating?
Ooh,
out of 5.
Out of 5, I'm gonna give it a 4. I would say a solid 4. I enjoyed it. It definitely left me wanting more, and I think that's the most I could ask for out of a movie.
Sure. I'll give it like a 3.75. It's not the greatest I've ever seen, but it's not awful. Like I think Barbarian is a better movie. If I'm being honest, I think Barbarian is the better of the two films that Zach Cregger has done. However, I think this one opens the possibilities up for anything else that he can do, because seeing how he handles like mystery and supernatural stuff is very well done, and I would love to see a more fleshed out universe. I do love that this movie was like, hey man, we're not going to answer every single little question, because that's the point of leaving you wanting more. However, I'm a big fan of very standalone concepts where the story has a good conclusive ending.
Sure.
But I do also enjoy what he did leave open.
I like that I wasn't bored at any point. I felt like I actually enjoyed the pacing in this one better than the pacing in Barbarian. I think overall I did enjoy Barbarian a little bit more, but this was still fantastic for me. Like I said, it left me wanting more. At no point was I bored. I was always trying to figure out what's going on. My brain's always analyzing when we're watching stuff like that. So I was trying to pick up on patterns and, that kind of good shit. But I wasn't disappointed. I liked the ending. I liked what we got out of it. Good movie.
For past, present, and future episodes of Cult Macabre, you can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. You can leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. You can leave us a rating and leave comments on individual episodes on Spotify. And if you're listening to this episode on our YouTube channel, please consider subscribing to the channel, clicking the bell for notifications for future episodes, leaving a like on this video, or leaving a comment down below. Any engagement helps. And if you'd like to follow us on any of our social media platforms, all of this information can be found within our Linktree link in the show notes below.
So if you'd like to join us for more of pop culture's dark side, sign the Black Book and join the cult. I'm Lee.
And I'm Richie.
We'll see you next time.